Hey, the Hat Piper, how you doing? I'm a little bit worried about my connection. I hope it's going to be okay. Hi, Jordan, how you doing? I'm out in the garage, so connection-wise, I've got an extender out at the back of the kitchen, which is as near as I can get it, and it's generally okay. So I hope it's going to hold up. I do believe that the supplier is messing me around, but there you go. They're waiting for me to renew my contract. There you go, they're waiting. Algonquin, Mike, Gamecock Piper, Briar Blues. Mike, how you doing? A dust maker indeed. Well, today I've been busy doing a little bit of restoration on one of the pipes, one of the Les Wood pipes that I got. And you might think yourself, what? Restoration of a Les Wood pipe? They looked great as it is, and it's true they did look great. But one of them, I've actually done a video doing the restoration, and I've showed exactly why I've done the restoration. Hi Tim, how you doing? How do? Joshua Ronish, hello. Have I received any of the pipes yet? Hi Boca, hi North Country Fisher, morning. Have I received any of the pipes? I have. I've got one. I've got Jason Mouton's pipe. And I've kind of I've got another. I mean, I think as far as I know, they're all on the way. So I'm really, really hopeful that I will get the bulk of them this week. I'm kind of a little bit worried about, it's kind of cooling off and it's going off the burner, which I'm a bit nervous about. But hi, Smoking Ronnie. So I hope that once they do start to arrive and I can do a decent video and start to push it, we'll sort of lift the publicity, and we'll get Phil to do it on the Briar Report, and I'll ask people like your good selves to talk about it on your channels, and hopefully the word will get out again. The number of pipes has actually been boosted. It was going to be 5, but now it's going to be 7. I've got some more pipes coming in, which I will talk about in the future. Thanks, Josh. I haven't tried the Erebor, no. It's sitting actually right here, which is why probably I haven't tried it. It's because it's been out in the garage, and I don't smoke that much in the garage, although I have this evening. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that this evening. Although I don't think I've got a Latakia pipe here with me. I might be able to work something out. This should do it. You remember this pipe, one of my early pipes? You can see by the shaping there that it's one of my early pipes. That was when I was doing this golf ball rustication. Good evening, Tony. Good evening, Piano. Yeah, so hopefully, I'm really hopeful that beginning of next week I'll be able to start doing videos highlighting each of the pipes. I intend to do a separate video for each of the pipes to give each of the makers their due, deserved sort of publicity for donating a pipe, and then I'll start sort of promoting it, in earnest, and hopefully we'll get the word out there and raise as much as we can. Midnight at the Oasis. Hi, Chad. Paul the Piper. So I'm just going to get to the pipes in a minute. I'm just going to give this pipe a clean because I haven't smoked it in Yonkers. It's probably got a layer of asbestos or some other kind of poison in there by now. The weather is not good. It's actually just started raining. We've had knotty weather for the last couple of weeks. We've had storms and God knows what else. So yeah, it's been a bit crazy. Don't worry about it, Paul. I wasn't holding my breath. Whenever it works, it works. I might actually be able to meet you this week. I'm going to be in town on Tuesday. So Tuesday afternoon, if you want, I could probably do it. No worry, Josh. So before I start this arable, first of all, let me put some on a tray. Finding the tray is a different matter, of course. Oh, look at that. We have a tray. So this arable, this is Tim's latest blend, Wolf Valley Boy. And hi, John. So I did say that I was going to give this a try, but it's been sitting here in the garage, so we'll have another chance. It's got quite a smoky, kerosene kind of latakia aroma in the bag, which doesn't always bode well for me because I don't like that really acrid kind of latakia. I like sweet Balkan sort of mixes with latakia in there, but I don't like this heavy stuff. You know me, Tim. I'm sure you won't be offended, but I'll tell you as it sort of tastes. I'm not going to beat about the bush. I'll be polite, I'll be gentlemanly, I'll be British, but I'll still tell you if it's crap. Not crap. If I don't like it, I'm sure it's fantastic, but if I don't like it. Such a genuine laugh. Right, no, I haven't had them for English. The only amphoras I've had is Full Aroma and the Virginia. I think those are the only two that I've had. I think. Anywho, so you guys probably saw the Les Wood pipes. So this is one of them, and as Jordan said on my post, that for somebody who was saying that he doesn't go for blingy pipes so much, they're very blingy pipes. Exactly, Mike. As long as it's not rabbit hutch. So this is really for quite some time. The reason why I jumped on these is because for quite some time I've wanted to get these silver spigots from Les Wood, but in 9mm, and they're like gold dust. They're hard to find, but they are out there. And the great thing about these is that this is actually a real army mount. This is a proper army mount. It's tapered. You can break it down when the pipe is hot. And the filter, it's basically, this army mount incorporates the tenon, the 9mm tenon. Usually what you have is a faux army mount. When it's 9mm, the silver will stop there, and then you have a regular 9mm tenon sticking out of that. Something like that. Okay, so this will actually slip into the mortise. It won't be a real army mount. This one is, because it's in there. The tenon is in there, the filter goes in, but the actual bit there is tapered, so it goes in like a normal traditional army mount. And I've been trying to get one of these for a long time. But it's like I used to say as a kid, like the 253 bus, which was my local bus when I was a child. You wait for one for hours, and then 5 come in a row. Anyway, this guy, I don't know who it was, put on an auction on eBay, had 4 or 5 of these pipes, and 2 or 3 of them had these mounts. I managed to get 2 of them. I bid on all of the pipes, but I only put serious bids on these 2. And one of them, which is this one, which I've now No, this is a Leswood pipe. This is an Elwood pipe. So you have Fern Down by Leswood and you have Elwood pipes. The Fern Downs were generally made for the American market or the non-German market. So they were regular tenons, not 9mm. And the Elwoods were made for the German market, and the majority of those were 9mm pipes because the German market is just virtually all 9mm pipes. So that's a tip. If you want to get 9mm pipes, go over to eBay Germany. That's a top tip for you people. So this one here was the one that I really wanted, and I put in quite a bid on this pipe. In the end, I still think I paid a fair price for it. I didn't overpay, but it was still more than I would usually pay for a pipe on eBay. But I still think I got a very good deal, and I'm very happy with it. It was less than £200, okay, but it was more than £150. Might have been euros actually, so that is a difference. It's about 20% difference. Hi Daniel. No, I didn't make a pipe today. I was just doing some restoration. So this was pipe number 1. I haven't touched this one. This one is virtually in mint condition. The only issue with this pipe, it's not really an issue, is, I mean, the rim is a smooth rim, but you can see these tiny little puck marks, which the fuss pot in me wants to sand out, but I don't know if you can catch them there. You see there, these little tiny little indentations, tiny little dings, which I don't know if they're it's probably from a guy hitting it with a lighter every day, and it's just lots of little dings. But it's in fantastic condition. The bowl is really nice, good condition inside. It's been reamed, it looks like. It's not new, no. It's definitely been smoked, but in pristine condition, really. This stamping here is sharp, the Elwood stamping, and the LNJS, which is Leswood's signature on his silver work. I mean, for me, Leswood, the premier silver worker in the UK. Has been for many, many years. He used to do silver work for Dunhill and gold work, precious metal work basically, for all of the carvers. He did for Astley's, he did for James Upshall, he did for Ashton's. I think he may have done some for Northern Briars. I'm not sure. He does his own, but I'm not sure if he's done some for him in the past or not. But for all the big and well-known, certainly in the past, he did their silver work. So LNJS is what you're looking for, and it's obviously silver, 925 sterling. So this was the second pipe. Now this one here had a little bit of wear on the front edge over here. So what I did is I sanded it all the way back, and I essentially just rounded off the whole top of the rim. So now it looks as it should look. I mean, it was a straight rim before, but it looks like that's how it was originally made. It's basically, I haven't polished this one yet. I don't know if you guys saw the video that I did before when I first got it, but I basically sanded it right back to wood, and I did a bit of a contrast stain on it, but I left it quite dark because I wanted to also, I didn't do any staining on the nomenclature. I wanted that to stay original. I didn't want to start sanding that and messing it up, so that I did the stain to absorb the original colour. Really, I didn't want to deviate too much from the original pipe, but I think it's fixed basically, and it looks good. It's still got to have a top coat of a stain, of a light coloured stain, just to marry all the colours together, and then it'll get buffed. But so really happy with that result. That's worked out very well. Now I did get a couple of pipes also from the Danish pipe shop, so I have been on a little bit of a spree. I haven't bought a pipe for a long time, so I bought a couple of pipes in the Danish pipe shop, and I've started restoring one of them, and one of them is brand new, so I'm not restoring that. So this one is actually an estate pipe, but it was unsmoked. But when I saw it on the Danish pipe shop, I had a good look at it close up on the larger picture, and it looked like it had some really nice grain underneath the basic, really tan coloured stain that was on there. No contrast staining was done at all. So again, I sanded it back. I didn't sand it all the way back to wood. I sanded pretty much most of the stain off, and I've given it the undercoat. I haven't gone further to the next stage with this pipe yet, but I will. I think it'll actually have some really interesting stain on it. Just put it back in the vise. Okay, so that's where we are with that. This pipe here you've all seen probably, which currently is being tentatively reserved by a brother of the leaf. This was pipe number 96. Slight bend on the shaft, on the shank, and then curved. Hi Josh. Beautiful piece of briar. Anyway, so hopefully that one is sold, but we'll see how we go during the course of the week. What else? Oh, so that pipe, yeah, sure, the new pipe. What did I do with it? Did I bring it out? Yes, I did. So, Danish pipe shop. Will any of your LCS pipes coming up be made with a military mount? Possibly in the future, Daniel. It's, you know, my as and when I develop my experience and skill, that's a very big possibility. I do like army mounts. I really do like army mounts. Getting that taper correct is a skill which has to be learned over time. So here, oh sorry, that's not a pipe. That might be smoked a little bit later. This is a 2016 limited edition Dante's Monte Cristo. Bear with. Alright, we're back. But we're going to start with Tim's tobacco. So we'll set that back in the box. I don't want it getting dusty. Hey Newton, how you doing? So this pipe is by Lasse Skovgaard, a Danish piper, a Danish pipe maker. And this is a lovely little sandblasted, what would you call that? A brandy. Quite a narrow top there. I used to worry about some of my pipes having quite a narrow, sort of quite a thin thing, but this is, you know, the Danish guys, they do some really, really thin rims, so I'm not too worried about it, the ones that I've done. But it's got a really nice sandblast, and the top edge of the stain has been taken off, so it just brings out that little bit of the brightness of the briar beneath. And it's I can't remember what the weight is, but it's probably in the 30s. Really lightweight. So I'm definitely going to be smoking this. It'll be nice to get a feel for a brand new Danish pipe made by a real Danish carver. There's a couple of ranges that he's got, a couple of price levels. This is the lower price level. I can't afford to buy the higher price level, but you get the same quality in terms of the briar itself. They're just taken with not as much care. Well, I don't know about care, but certainly the description that the Danish pipe shop gives is that they're made quicker and they're made with pressed stems. That's the only difference. It might have, it's the way this bit here is, because here you've got a standard straight up almost, and it's a little bit more slanted here, so it gives you the impression perhaps of leaning forward a bit. It actually may be leaning forward an absolute fraction. When I look at it here, I wouldn't call this canted, but it's maybe a fraction canted, but to me I would say it's unintentional. It's too small a cant for it to be intentional. It could be the way I'm holding it, it could be the angle of the lens, whatever, but it's a straight up pipe. I wouldn't call this canted. Nice transition from stem to shank. Yeah, that's really nicely carved out. High tree, and that's something that I've been working on my pipes as well, which is why that particular last pipe that I showed you I've been so happy with, because of that transition. That transition as well I worked a lot on to get that to be really defined. Anyway, enough about mine. So, exactly, Carl. So, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Yeah, very good. It'll be decanted. Right, stop cracking your fingers and get on with some smoking. So, PT, hello PTJ. Right, so we said we're going to use this. Did I put a filter in? I think I did. Yeah. I've stopped loading my pipe with that Frank method, you know, that pushing in a ball of tobacco, because I've been having less success with it of late. So I'm just going back to what I used to do, which is almost a gravity fill, just very gently putting it in and only sort of compressing it in the last bit. Say no more. I hope the connection is okay. I've noticed that the connection out here is not as good as it could be, so apologies if it's a bit jumpy. Jack Daniels, as always. I hope you washed your hands with soap, Tim, when you were mixing this. Don't want any coronavirus all over this. It is raining, Ironbridge, yeah. Hey, Joe Fish. So, what's in here, Tim? Tim said this is a bit of a kitchen sink kind of blend. You know what, I'm just going to take the Wi-Fi off and see what the 4G's like. Just hang in there for a second. Okay, we should be back on now, hopefully. Alright, you guys got me? Cool. Tree, still using it. Oriental, Virginia, Latakia, Kentucky. Black Cavendish and Perique. I'd like to know where you're getting your Baccy from. Your blending Baccy. I can definitely get the Oriental. And obviously the Latakia. It reminds me a bit of Deception Pass. In fact, it might even be better. Hey, Andrew. The only difference is this has got Latakia in it, which Deception Pass doesn't. Deception Pass is a vapor with Orientals. I actually like it. I smoked a bowl of it earlier today, and it wasn't so good because it came from a fresher tin. I'd actually jarred it up. I jarred it up maybe a month or two ago, something like that. I opened up a tin, so it's pretty young. When I was really enjoying the Deception Pass, it was an old tin which I jarred up probably 2 years ago, and I just went through that. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It had a good bit of tang, a little bit of richness to it, a little bit of a nice sort of pinch at the back of the mouth. But the current one, which I tasted, just wasn't ready. It just didn't feel ready. This one, even though it's fresh, it seems to have a good bit of the Orientals. Just really seem to be very nice, and I do like Orientals as a condiment to, say, a vapor or something like that. But the other one doesn't have Latakia. Deception Pass doesn't have Latakia. This one does. Well, Perique at 5% is pretty standard. I mean, you wouldn't want to put much more than that. I think most vapors would have something like 5 to 7 or 8% Perique. Asquith mixture from GQ Tobaccos, that one I think has about 20, and that's considered a really high percentage proportion of Perique. Yeah, I'm happy that it's not a lap bomb, because I wouldn't enjoy it if it was. Interestingly, the flavour in the mouth I'm enjoying more than the retrohale for a change on this blend. Bayou Morning, that's 25% what, Perique or Latakia? Joe Fish. I'm currently smoking some Erebor, which is a mix that Tim or Fally Boy has put together. Bayou Morning is Perique. Okay, that sounds interesting. I'm not sure if I've had that. I might have a tin somewhere. I'm not sure. No, I think I have on the Bayou Frogmorton. Oh, okay. Is it just a vapor, or has it got other stuff in it as well? Andrew, I was just showing everybody my new Lasse Skovgard pipe, which I just bought. Really nice sandblast, but it's in your kind of neck of the woods in terms of size and weight. Very, very small, diminutive pipe. It's going to be late 20s or early 30s in terms of grams weight, but it's the type of thing that you'd probably enjoy. Oh my gosh, Paul, that must have been hilarious. Well, if you're quick off the mark, Piano, and you can get some from Pipe Stud, his prices are still quite reasonable. I think he's actually got some Frogmorton available right now. So if you see the numbers going down suddenly, everybody's going to be shooting over to Pipe Stud. He's got a whole load of Frogmorton stuff on there. Well, at least he had earlier this evening. Thanks, Boca. Well, he's got the smaller ones, the 50-gram tins, some of them for $35. You know, nothing too crazy. It's maybe double what it was retail, but it's not terrible. And the 100-gram tins, he's got some for $65, I think. Depends which one, of course, and how old they are. Pipe Stud. Pipestud.com. That's Steve Fallon. He's pipe stud on eBay. He used to sell tobacco on eBay, but that's now finished. But he sells pipes on eBay, and he sells pipes on his website and consignment tobacco. Where are you based, Piano? Which country are you in? Well, Rich Dark Flake, he's got a 250 gram bag. He may have sold by now, but he had earlier this evening. Although it's cheaper for you to buy it here, to be honest. The shipping here is quite exorbitant from the States. You're in the US, well, check it out. Pipestud.com. Well, it's not bad, Tim. It's not bad. I'm not on a huge Latakia kick these days, as you know. So I'm never going to be a huge fan. Yeah, because it's in the States, Andrew, it's going to cost more. For somebody here in the UK, it wouldn't be much point in buying it. In the UK, you could buy 500 gram bags here. I think the 500 gram bags are probably that kind of money, maybe £200, £250, something like that. But it tastes good. It's not too heavy. It's not too much of a slap in the face of any of the tobaccos that are in here. I don't know how long you've had this sitting, but it feels reasonably well married. It's still young, you can feel that. I'd like to get more of a Virginia flavour, if I'm honest. But that's just me, I suppose. Seven or 8 months, that makes sense, Tim. I'm amazed at your patience that you've held on to it so long without talking about it till now. Thanks for sending it. The Latakia is kind of on the acrid side for me, which is not my favourite type of Latakia. I'm not really seeing what the Cavendish is doing for it. Was it any kind of cased Cavendish, or was it just plain Cavendish? Or was it just a filler? I've got to tell you that his pipes are really, really comfortable to clench, Les Woods. Although this one's, the bits on these are really quite different. You can see that's quite a wide bit there compared to that one. That is a smaller pipe though. That clenches very well. As does this. It's a heavier pipe obviously, but it clenches well. It's going to be a bit of a difficult one to decide if I'm going to keep one, or sell them both, or keep them both. Because I was going to sell this one. I was going to restore it and sell it, but the restoration has really worked out very well, and you would never know that it was had an issue. Well, not an issue; it's just been used, but it's come out very, very well. And by the time I've finished off, sort of getting the stain exactly how I want it, and then buffing it, it'll look great. I may end up keeping them. We shall see. The silver work by Les is just second to none. I think he's probably one of the premier guys in the world when it comes to metalwork, metallurgy, with precious metal anyway. I mean, the guys at Peterson are pretty awesome as well. I hate to admit it, but they're pretty awesome as well. They got some great silver work at Peterson. I don't know if that's changed at all with Lodisi taking over, but that is an army mount, yeah. Even though it's 9mm, it is an army mount. I've talked about it at the beginning of the video. It's a proper army mount, and it incorporates a 9mm tenon in there. Can you send tobacco to the USA from UK? Yeah, it's the same as receiving. You just got to label your package, as Tim puts it creatively. What I've been declaring on my packages these days is spare parts for toy train sets. And so far, no issues, thank God. Sent out some packages on Friday, a couple of the pipes that I've sold. Hey Jason, how you doing? Religious artifact, they might think it's something valuable. Hey C Smokes. Bayou Guru, by the way, everybody. Jason is one of the guys who contributed one of the pipes. And I'll be showing that in due course. In terms of the 100th pipe, no, I haven't decided as yet. I keep looking at this block. This block has been speaking to me quite a bit recently, and I've been doodling shapes on there, but I'm as yet undecided. I have to do more research online as well, get some pictures of some nice pipes to inspire me. I'm thinking, at the moment, I've been thinking along the lines of that being the shank with an upturned bowl coming out of it. I forget what that shape's called, but something like that. I don't think I got yours yet, C Smokes, no. I've received 2 pipes so far. One of them is Jason's. Oh no, it's not a lumberman. Definitely not a lumberman. CDN, what's that? There was a vid put up today about how to pick briar. No, I didn't see that. Do 100 for my son. Well, I don't expect any of them will smoke a pipe, to be honest. Yeah, it can be like that, C Smokes. It can take a week, it can take 2-3 weeks sometimes. Oh, Canadian, CDN, fine, okay. Yeah, you could do a Canadian on this one, no problem. But what I want to do is I want to make use of this bird's eye. So rather than just have a shank of a pipe and have the bird's eye on the bottom and some on the bowl and on the rim, I wanted to really make the most of it. So I wanted to make something which has got a broad back, and something along those lines. A broad back. And with the pipe, so in other words, the pipe would actually be upstanding. I can't remember the name of the pipe, but basically, so this would be standing up, and the bowl would be up here. This would be the rim here, so that would be up there, the shank up there, with maybe a broad back, maybe ballerina, possibly, yeah, that kind of idea. And with the bowl coming out, almost coming out like that, sprouting out of that sort of shank and the bowl at the top there. Not the bowl here like a volcano, but here, and that coming back down. That kind of a Ramesses kind of idea, yeah, that kind of idea. Because I just want to, the grain on here is just, it will make a very, very nice, smooth sort of area to focus on the bird's eye. And the thing about this block is that sometimes when you get the plateau is not on a level, and this is not on a perfect level, but it's pretty level, which means that you could take a minimal amount off, and hoping that there isn't. Sometimes you get a variation in the colour of the briar as you get to the plateau, but I'm hoping that if I take that off, I won't lose too much of the briar, and I'll get a nice smooth. You can see there is a little bit of a variation there. Can you see it gets a little bit lighter at the top? And that sometimes can affect the look of the pipe, but a bit of creative staining, maybe that will be okay. But that's kind of what I'm thinking to do with this block, something along those lines. And also I want to try and make my own stem for this one as well, so that's another hurdle which I need to overcome. Daniel Mustran, yeah, I actually bought a pipe of his a while back, a stunning pipe. I sold it because it wasn't 9mm, but I regret it all the time. These pipes cost a lot more now. Thanks, Carl. I have as well. You should see the shelves indoors. Hey Snoopy, my thought on calabash pipes. Well, there's so many different variations in terms of a real calabash, a calabash shaped pipe, reverse calabash, all of that kind of stuff. But a real calabash I don't have, a gourd calabash I don't have. The nearest I've got to that is my full Rivara pipe, which has got a bowl which comes out, and the draft hole is right on the nadir of the bowl, and then you've got that whole area there which is carved out of the shank, and that's all empty, as you would expect in a calabash with a gourd calabash. It's the nearest that I've got in terms of shape as well, and it smokes very, very well. I think I've only ever smoked Penzance in that pipe. I saw a video of Mel. I haven't watched it yet, but he's been talking about it already for a while about getting some machinery in. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets up to. Yeah, his acrylic calabashes are awesome. My one is briar all the way, but they do look great, his acrylic ones. Still smoking this Erebor from Tim. Getting a bit of a nutty flavour coming through. I don't think you said that there was any, what's his name in here? Burley, but a little bit of a toasted, tobacco-y kind of flavour coming through, which is nice. The purpose of a reverse calabash, I wish I knew, because they've never worked for me. Briarworks Calabash. There's a guy out there on IG, I don't remember his name, who's got the most amazing magnetic. His stems, they just click into place. He's got this beautiful bulbous kind of design to the pipes. I'm sure some of you have seen his pictures. And he does little video clips showing how the stem just jumps from his fingers into place. Stunning, absolutely stunning. Well, that's the idea, Mike, that it should be like a 9mm pipe without the filter, but it's not in reality, not in my experience anyway. Maybe somebody who has less of an issue with tongue bite it would be okay for, but I've tried the reverse calabashes many times, and I've not really noticed any improvement in terms of the ability to smoke without tongue bite. And the truth of the matter is, every 9mm pipe, if you take the filter out, you've got a mini reverse calabash there. You've got a chamber. So technically that should work to some degree. But I've really, yeah, absolutely, smoke and mirrors. I totally agree with you. It's another little sort of design skill. It certainly is. Paul Menard makes some stunning reverse calabash pipes, and they're great. They look fantastic. That's exactly my point, Tim. I said that all the time with the Dagner reverse calabash pipes. They were much too short in order to really give you any benefit. They always tend to be on the short stubby pipes for some reason. I guess that by having a short stubby shank and making it a reverse calabash, it's kind of making it as if it was a long shank. It's certainly not making it as if it was a 9mm filter enough to remove tongue bite. Maybe it's extending, the effect of the reverse calabash is extending the shank by maybe times 0.5, you know. But in reality, I don't see it making any difference. The Peterson system pipes are nasty. Right, Tim, my overall verdict on this, we've been smoking it for what, half an hour now, something like that? They're all very, very cool, Jason. The question is whether they work, whether they actually do anything. Whether it actually changes the smoke. I think, let's put it this way, for somebody who's got a borderline issue with smoking, whether it be they're a wet smoker or tongue bite, but borderline, maybe reverse calabash would work. Maybe it's enough. Like for some, it's all a matter of degree. Like for me, the Savinelli Balsa filters, they're not enough, but for some people they are enough. For me, it's just the 9mm filters. I've yet to try these Meerschaum filters, which somebody was talking about recently. Who was it? Somebody showed them the Meerschaum elephant, the white elephant ones. He never smoked one, Jason. Fair enough. Phil who? Uncle Phil. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, he showed it. He likes them. I think I've tried the white elephants once. I might even have a few upstairs. I had one box of them. But I think it was possibly before I actually was majorly into 9mm filters. So I don't remember what they were like. But there you go. Mike says that they have almost zero draw. Could be. But they were on eBay always very expensive compared to regular 9mm. So if they're now available here, maybe they'll be a little bit more affordable. Yeah, so the 6mm are much more easy to get hold of, the white elephant ones. But maybe now that changes. I think GQ Tobaccos has them. Is that what Phil was saying? Or he got them in my smoking shop? Where did he say he bought them? No, I haven't heard of them. Is that an American... well, if it's by Orlick, then it's not, I guess. I mean, Orlick originally is an English brand. The quality of the filter, for sure, it will make a difference. The question is, are there any different qualities out there? They're all made slightly differently, I guess. GQ has them, cool. Well, I've got to do an order from GQ, because he's actually got a really cool item to put into the auction as well, which is very kindly sending me. So I told him I'll do an order, and he can just put it in there. He did offer me a pipe, but I declined. however hard that was, it was hard to decline a pipe, but I wanted only 673s. That's got to be the theme of the auction, and I wanted to stay true to that, and even in the face of being offered a free pipe. I just said no, thank you, but no thank you. But he found me a really, really cool item made by a very well-known English tobacco blender, which I think will be of interest especially to the American audience. So we'll talk about that when it comes. It's a nice design as well, really nice. And I've also declined tobacco because I really wanted to have things in the auction which would be, tobacco. Once you smoke it, it's gone. There's nothing left. I wanted it to be something which would be some kind of memorial. At the same time, raise funds, but it should be desirable items and also to serve as some kind of memorial. So I think hopefully by the time we've got all the items together, I hope you'll all agree that there'll be a decent selection of items. Hey PA. Carl, I don't have a date as yet. I just don't feel able to give out a date until I've got all the items. Because with shipping from America, it could take a month. So I certainly don't want to disappoint anybody by not including their item. That would be a terrible thing to do. So I've got to wait until I've got everything under my roof. That was always going to be an issue. And when I approached artisan pipe makers in the States, I think there was a bit of a sharp intake of breath as, well, why would I send it to London? Why can't I just send it from here? But it was a key point which I was very, very insistent on, is that when you're doing an auction, you've got to be able to show it. And I wanted them all to be together under one sort of display in the auction. And if people had a question about it, I could do it live. There's no point me sort of showing pictures and things like that. And then I wanted it to be a proper auction. And an auction has to be where I can lift up the product and show it, answer questions if people have any questions live. And that's what I wanted it to be. So I hope it'll work out in the end, all being well. And I hope the wait will be worth it. As you say, Grobnob, build up is a good thing. Mr. Scripto, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. What I'm thinking of doing is, if it's not too expensive, I'm going to go online and get one of these rotating tables. And I'm going to make a little display of all the items. Well, the pipes anyway. The other items might be a bit too big. But of the pipes, I just have them rotating slowly during the auction. And then just lift off each one as and when that gets sold. I think that would be a cool way to do it. I'm going to set up a little bit of a stage, with a white background, just to make it look a little bit official, a little bit tidy, with decent lighting. And try and do a decent job, If I don't get a rotating table, I might just put it in the microwave and have it spinning around in the microwave. What is this lul? I know what lol is, but what's lul? Is that like majorly laughing out loud? That's what was that game that had the cuddly toy? Cuddly toy on the conveyor belt. What was that game called? Yeah. Yeah, I know PA pipe. I was wondering though what it means, if anything, or it's just what you do. Generation game. Thank you, Grobnob. Those were the days. A pipe versus cigar video. You've been looling since 1997. Good for you, PA Piper. The retrohale is improving here, Tim. Well, Daniel, it's a nice idea, but it's a little bit pointless, to be honest, because pipes and cigars are very, very different. They're just completely different, and within each there's an ocean of difference. So there's a huge variety of pipes, a huge variety of tobaccos. So it would just not seem to be a like for like kind of comparison. So you could do sort of back-to-back tobacco reviews, but to put, for me anyway, I mean, if you want to just sort of make a decision, a discussion about the pros and cons of each, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Pros and cons. Yeah, we can talk about that, and you can all make your comments as well. And I think most of you guys smoke cigars as well. And I've been known to stick a cigar in a pipe as well when I get towards the end of a cigar. I remember I once put a picture of that on Facebook on one of the pipe groups, and I got quite a bit of a negative reaction. From the pipe purists. That's quite a known thing, PA Piper. Quite a few people do that. Captain Clench, how you doing? Glenn, how you doing? It actually works very well. I suppose it makes sense to keep a pipe for that. You wouldn't want to put it in a Latakia pipe. Well, you know, people talk about pipes and cigars. People talk about the pipes, the ceremony side of it, and the ritual side of it. But you know, with cigars, there's also a ritual. It may not be as extensive, and but there is a ritual. And if you're fussy about your cigars and you care about them, in terms of the humidity and when to smoke them, and preparing them before you smoke them, some people are quite detailed about that kind of thing. Some people will take their cigars out for 2 or 3 days before smoking them. They'll take them out of the humidor to dry them up a bit. I tend to just smoke them straight out of the humidor. Maybe I'll leave them out for an hour or two, but I don't do the 2 or 3 day business. Hey Steve. But as I've said many, many times, in terms of the pipes and cigars, first of all, it can be quite a seasonal thing. So if you smoke cigars quite a bit, if you're a pipe smoker, then it probably won't affect you as much. What will affect you more in the seasons is the type of blends that you prefer to smoke in your pipe. But if you're a cigar smoker and a pipe smoker, and you smoke both quite significantly, then the seasons can have an effect. And I haven't been smoking cigars as much as I used to, but I have, in the last week or so, been smoking more cigars than I have in the weeks prior to that. I don't know if it's a seasonal thing or just something that I fancy a little bit more. I don't know the reason yet. The advantage, for instance, of a cigar is that you just light it and smoke it, and that's it. There's nothing to worry about. There's no tamping. There's no assuming that the build quality of the cigar is good, and you got a good draw. That's it. And you just smoke it until you're done. But one of the key disadvantages is the cost. Cigars, the cost ratio between cigars and pipe tobacco is huge. The disparity between the two is like ginormous. Especially if you're smoking Cuban cigars like I do most of the time. I have smoked quite a few non-Cubans recently. I've really been enjoying the Cigar Milano. Had one the other day. Hi Chad. Oh, we've seen Chad. I'm not feeling well. Oh no. Wish you better, Chad. Yeah, so most people do smoke cigars in the summer, pipes in the winter. I'm kind of... I'll enjoy cigars in the winter as well, big time. Especially on a cold night. because I have the luxury of being able to smoke a cigar indoors in my house, but I don't do it too often. Otherwise, I'd get complaints. But I can smoke them in my office. So the Underground Shade, Andrew, a nice cigar. Leave them in your humidor for a while. They are smooth anyway, even fresh. But leave them in there a little bit while the flavour will deepen a little bit. It will smooth off a little bit. And it'll just round off a little bit, even 6 months, a year, if you've got that patience. But the truth of the matter is you can smoke them straight away. But maybe if you get a box, smoke some but leave some behind. Kind of tempted to smoke this pipe. I never really thought myself that there was a big difference between aged cigars and not when it comes to non-Cubans. But I have noticed that. I've noticed that after a couple of years there is a difference. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they're rubbish, Hamlets and that kind of thing. It's, from what I understand, they're a good smoke. I haven't smoked those kind of things for a long time, but I used to really enjoy the Villager cigars. The square ones, the ones which were cut at both ends. Cigar smoke definitely does permeate more, without a doubt. Glenn, this here is sitting here while I just contemplate it. It's been on my desk now for a few days, and I'm kind of thinking of keeping this for pipe 100, and I'm just letting ideas flow around me in terms of what I want to do with it. Been doodling a little bit in terms of a shape, but I'm not settled yet on a shape. Ooh, excuse me. Hey Josh, how you doing? Ooh, I don't like the Toscanos. Hey to Vermont. The Swiss ones with Cuban tobacco? Which ones are they? Oh, the Villagers, right. Oh, I don't know if they're Cuban. I wouldn't stake your life on that, my friend. They might say it's Cuban-esque, Cuban seed, but I doubt very much it's Cuban tobacco. But they are nice cigars. It's been a while since I smoked the Villagers. Daniel, it's a good question. It's a matter of moods, I say this many times that when I come back from a wedding, when I've had a really long hard day, a cigar does it for me more than a pipe. Generally, it just reaches in deeper, and it just works better for me, without a doubt. Hey John, welcome back. Well, if it says Cuban on there, there's got to be some relationship to a Cuba in there, but my guess is it's Cuban seed, rather than actually grown in Cuba. Unless they're buying the offcuts, the sweepings, because the Villagers, as far as I know, are short filler as opposed to long filler. So maybe they're buying the cheaper offcuts. It's possible. I'd be surprised. I don't know if it's the Nick Punch, because nicotine generally is a stimulant. I find that if I smoke a cigar, then I'm up for a while. So nicotine, I don't. If I get a nicotine punch, then which floors you, then I just feel ill, which I thankfully don't get too often. But otherwise, nicotine generally is a stimulant. I've never tried those, Tim. I see them a lot online and in the tobacconists. And I've been tempted to try them, the Maharis, but I've never tried them. A favourite size cigar is definitely a Robusto for me, yep. No question about it. You asked the question before, what's the 5 best and worst things about pipe smoking? Well, I don't know if I can think of 5, but I'll start. What the best things about pipe smoking? Well, the community, for one. but that's not the pipe smoking itself. But certainly the array of blends that are out there, they're just amazing. You know, you could just get whatever type of tobacco you want. There's oodles and oodles of tobacco out there, no shortage. And the same goes for the pipes. Whatever shape takes your fancy, you could just glutton yourself on whatever shape of pipe that you want. So the selection, the choice that's out there is a huge plus. What else? The ritual, you know, even just putting a pipe to your mouth, I find it relaxes you straight away, you know. And I've got some pipes which do that more than others, but just putting a pipe to your mouth, it just somehow it triggers something in your brain, and it tells your brain to just relax and just take it down a notch, kind of thing. If I had to think of disadvantages, I suppose pad and tad, you just spend too much money on it. But also, for me, I always find the second half of the bowl is not as good as the first half. It gets a little bit ashy as you get down the bowl. So I've taken to... I never film... I very rarely, I wouldn't say never, but I very rarely film my bowl all the way to the top. So I tend to just take a half a bowl. Nowadays I'm a little bit more than half, maybe 3/4 of a bowl. But I tend to keep less in the bowl, and I'd rather have another pipe rather than have a longer pipe, for two reasons. And one is the second half being ashy, and the second is that I can smoke a different tobacco, and I like variety, so I can have half a bowl of one and then have a half a bowl of something else. So that's some of the advantages and disadvantages. And you've got to clean them. There you go, that's a disadvantage. Escudo in a Seriacapo. Brown Irish twist. I'm about finished on this bowl. Well, Daniel, why do people smoke more? The pipe I'm smoking, Martin High, is one that I made quite some time ago, yeah. That's one of my early pipes. You compare it to my most recent pipe, which is that one. Something of a difference. I'm just going to eat a little biscuit before I start my cigar. I hope you don't mind. There's no question a cigar is a lot easier, there's no question about it, much less faffing around. When they got a bit of age on them, they smell awesome. It's 2016, 4 years. Do the Arab cigar? No, not tonight. Straight cut all the way. All right. Straight cut all the way. I used to be a fan of the punch and the V-cut, but definitely straight cut. It's the most sensible type of cut, really, if you think about it. Jimmy Savile. We won't talk about him. I've actually got quite a large diameter punch, but I don't use it really. I've got a what's the make? I keep forgetting it. Anyway, so I've got a regular punch which is about a 7mm diameter, but I've got one which is like a 10, something like that, a 10 or 12mm diameter punch, which is really very wide. It's almost as wide as that. So that's almost like a straight cut, but a straight cut for me is I've got a V cutter, yeah. I've got the what's his name one, I forget the name, the one that's very sharp, the one that I keep bigging up. Calibri, yeah. So that one I enjoyed for a while. I used it all the time when I got it. But for me, the straight cut is just logical. You know, it gives you the straightest path for the smoke. And for me, it's a no-brainer. Variety is the spice of life, Grobnob. These are quite strong. I'm going to let it settle in a little bit. Hey Savinelli, how you doing? Kind of tempted to give this a quick go on the buffer. Bear with. I can see I'm going to have to do this again. It hasn't really worked. And it's just because I didn't take the stain all the way down, it's just the stain that I put on top of it is just coming off. So I'm going to have to sand this down back to the briar, start again. Never mind. This is a Monte Cristo Edición Limitada 2016, the Dantes. June 19, very young. Yeah, well, if you've got the patience, put them away, Mike. Hey, Tam. What's the hardest thing to learn as a new pipe smoker? Not to buy too many pipes. It's more of a sort of a Churchill kind of size. I can't remember what the ring gauge on these is. It's probably a 49 or something like that, 48, 49, maybe even a 50. And it's probably a 6-incher. Yeah, just a touch over 6 inches. If you don't have a humidor, then I agree with you, there's not much point. They won't get mouldy, they'll dry out. But I've got a very quick fix for you. It's just get yourself a Tupperware container. As long as it's airtight, it can be anything. And just introduce a little bit of moisture into that. The best way to do it is just to buy a Boveda pack, which is a little square pack which has got some moisture crystals inside, and that you should be good for that. With that for a couple of months. If you've got Boveda packs, you don't need to control the temperature. The Boveda pack is designed to have a release of temperature at a precise humidity. So depending on the humidity that your Boveda pack is, it will control itself. So if you buy a 69, say, humidity, it'll maintain 69 humidity in your airtight container. As long as you don't keep opening the box the whole time and allowing the humidity out, you should be fine. What I would advise you to do is when you go to your cigar shop, or if you go to whoever you're buying your cigars from, ask them to send you some cedar sheets, or even an empty box of cigars, a cedar box of cigars, and just keep your cigars in the cedar box in the Tupperware container. And what will happen is, over time, the cedar box will absorb some of that moisture. So even if you open your container and the sort of short-term humidity escapes, but the humidity in the cedar box will be retained. So that will just help to keep things humid, even if you open the container once in a while. Well, it depends what you're doing with the tin, Daniel. If you're long-term, if you're going to leave that tin open for a long time, then definitely jar it. Or if you haven't got enough jars, you do what I do as well, which is a similar kind of what I was just talking about now, is I put a bunch of tins in a Tupperware container. There's some blends which I want to jar because it's something that I'll be smoking regularly, so whenever I buy it, if I either leave it in the tin or I'll jar it, because I know that I'm going to always want it on hand. But tins which I'm experimenting with, which I'm trying out, which I don't particularly want to buy another jar for, I'll have in an airtight container. I've got 3 or 4 Tupperware containers, and I've got, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 tins, open tins, or baggies that people send you as gifts. They all just go into Tupperware containers, so that retains the humidity. It's not perfect, because air does escape from those eventually. but it's fine for tobacco that you're not too concerned about. You can put cedar line tubes in the humidor. Where do you think you bought them from? You bought them from a shop, from a cigar shop, which had them in their humidor. Absolutely, PA. If you're smoking that through, no problem. You can put them in a pouch, and it will last a few days without a problem. And that's also the kind of drying out that you could actually rehydrate quite easily. So you don't have to worry about that too much. It's not really dehydrated like to a crisp. And another thing you can do is that, did Tim say he's going? Alright, good night, Tim. Thanks very much. It wasn't too bad at all. It's not something that I would necessarily run after, but it wasn't bad at all. I managed to smoke it through. It was very nice, very pleasant. I just prefer more of a Balkan kind of flavour, a sweeter, musty kind of flavour. And this is more of a honest kind of flavour, you know, tobacco-y. It's good. But yeah, an easy way to rehumidify tobacco which is not completely dried out. So if you've got a tobacco which has been sitting open for years, literally, I don't know, you get some kind of treasure trove from somewhere, and there's been an open tin which is literally dried and been sitting in an open, unsealed tin for 20 years, you're wasting your time. That's just worth the tin if it's collectible. But if you've got tobacco in a pouch which has been there, say, for a week and it started to get dry, load your pipe and just cup your hand over it and breathe. Breathe over the pipe 2 or 3 times, your tobacco will be soft again. Or you could blow through the pipe, but you're better off doing it this way, and breathe over it, and your tobacco will be rehydrated sufficiently to smoke it without a problem. It's a ride across town, Mike. You know, you might be looking at a tube ride or a train ride, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. But do get in touch with me, maybe we can get together sometime. Rush hour is a scary thing in London, that's for sure. That's faux show. If you're going in the tube in rush hour, well, just don't do it. If you can avoid going on the tube train in rush hour, much better off. Good night, Sea Smokes. Thanks for joining. Whatever works for you, Daniel. I wouldn't run around with tins, to be honest. You know, if it's stuff that you're smoking during that day. If you're one blend guy, then yeah, have one tin and smoke from that tin all day. But if you're taking different blends with you, just baggies is the best way to go. When I go on holiday as well, I don't take any tins. The first year that I smoked a pipe, when I went away, I took a whole container full of tins and bags and everything, because I thought, I don't know what I'm going to want. A bunch of pipes. Last time I went, I took my 5-pipe case and my everyday case, which takes 2 pipes, and I had about 4 or 5 baggies, and that was it. Can you take tobacco on a plane? Well, they sell the stuff on the plane. They sell cigarettes duty free, so I don't know. It's a good question. Good night, Rocking Steady. Thanks for joining. Dude reviews. Which dudes do you review there? What am I getting from this Monty at the moment is rich tanginess, earthiness, but tang more than anything else. These are supposed to be, Monte Cristos generally are supposed to give you quite a chocolatey flavour. I'm not getting that here at all. You're reviewing me, thank you. And you can see, if you look closely enough, you can see little white dots on the end of the ash there, just on the end. And that usually is a good indication that you're getting richness, the oils, the little, tiny little cells filled with essential oils. That's what you call tooth. See the little white dots? I don't know if you can see them with that rear-facing camera. That's a pleasure, Daniel. We're an S&M team. Bocar. How come I don't show my face? The camera's just not big enough. It couldn't get me all in one go. I think that's really the easiest way to put it. I did get asked by, what's his name, to interview right in the beginning when he first started doing them, and I hadn't really heard of him, Mike Murphy, and I didn't know anything about it at the time, and I declined. He hasn't asked me since, but maybe I would now, but I was a bit hesitant at the time. Oh yeah, Callum, no problem, send me the camera. Send me the camera, then I'll think about it. Depends on the camera, of course. And Mike's seen my face, so he knows, and he can vouch for the size of my head. I'm just a huge big head, and that's not even talking about my ego. You know, my ego's double the size of my head. You'd look great on the radio. Hey Kev, thanks for joining. I haven't tried the Handsome Flake, no. I've seen Andrew talk about it, but he's not a great fan, so not rushing out. Yes, Mike, absolutely. There's no question about that, Daniel. There's absolutely no question. And Mike is ahead of me by about 40 years. He knows his Castello pipes. He knows a lot more than just his Castello pipes, trust me. Without a doubt, Mike is one of the most knowledgeable people in the pipe industry that I've ever come across. And I've said before, you know, I read a lot of literature, pipe literature, especially the stuff from years back, and he's mentioned in there quite a lot. So he's been on the scene a long time. Deception Pass is actually one of their tobaccos that I do quite like. Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I was almost saying that, but I didn't quite say it. But I was too expressive in that direction, so that was the obvious thing to say, but I held myself back from saying that. Look, you look at my beard. So between me and Mike, there's not an awful lot of difference. My beard used to be kind of blondie gingery, but it's gone white in the last few years, probably since I became a grandfather. I'm letting the moustache grow out a bit because that'll make me much more important when I have a big set of mutton chops and I can go and order a new computer. The barrel-aged rum. So, yeah, I'd like to try it, but some people saying really good things about it. But you're not enjoying it by the sounds of it, Andrew. Not enough chili heat in there, probably. I was watching some of the vaping, these rings that they do on the vaping videos. Unbelievable. That's artistry in itself. The imagination that they use to come up with those ring shapes. That's phenomenal. You're 59, PA. Well, I'm 50. I will be 51 on the 7th of April. I will be 51. So not too far. Can't believe it's a year ago. My wife put together a little party for my 50th. All my kids came to town. I had my young family in Israel came. My other young family who lives here actually now, they also came, and the rest of my kids. We all got together in a park. We had a barbecue. It was really cool, really cute. No, you don't look 59 at all, PA. I'm with you there mostly, Andrew. I'm not a huge SBC fan. Mississippi River, I tried so much to get that blend, but I never really got it. The last couple of times I tried it, it was better, but I never really could taste very much with Mississippi River at all. The one which I think is actually a very good blend is Plum Pudding. Now that is a blend which I do enjoy. That's the only one which I majorly enjoy. After that would be Deception Pass, but that one only, Deception Pass, as I said earlier today, is if it's aged a bit. Is that a new pipe you got, Newton? The Dunhill, or is that a one you've had? I saw your Nate King. Is it Nate King pipe, Andrew? Nate. His pipes are usually quite arty-farty, aren't they? Yeah, that's what I like about it. Sea Smokes is that tang. But I had some. I've got a fresh jar now, which I opened a tin maybe a month or two ago, and it's okay. I had a bowl of it earlier today, but just wasn't there. It wasn't really as good as I remember. I had a tin which I'd opened a couple of years back, jarred it, and then forgot about it. And then I tried it again maybe a couple of years after that, and it was phenomenal. The tanginess was fantastic, but I kind of smoked through that quite quickly. So I opened this other tin, but I think it needs to sit. So I've jarred it, and I'm going to let it sit for a while. Oh, nice. I have tried to get a birth year, but I've never found a nice one. My birth year is 69, and I've not yet found one worthy to pay money for. And in any event, the likelihood of getting a filtered one is quite low. And I'm not sure I want to take the risk of converting a Dunhill. But I'm not that obsessed with it anymore. The whole idea of getting a Berthier Dunhill doesn't really ring to me to be such an important thing anymore in my life. I'd much rather get a Lars Iversen 1969. Oh no, he wouldn't have been doing it that far back, I don't think. But Sixten Iversen, I don't know if he dated his pipes. Mike, did he? Or a Jess Chonowitz. I haven't the foggiest idea, Daniel. But if I had to guess, I'd probably say something like either GLPs or not GLPs, the other one. Yeah, C&D, Cornell and Deal. I would say probably Cornell and Deal. But having said that, if you take a company like McBaron, under the banner of McBaron, they might not have that many, but they do so many around of different companies. They own so many different companies. So if you look at it that way, it could be that McBaron or Scandinavian Group or British American Tobacco or any of these companies. They own so many different brands that it's possible that they actually have more. But under their own banner, probably C&D. I think at the moment I also have one Dunhill, which is a 9mm. It's the only Dunhill that I've bought new retail. It's a Stubby Dublin, but I don't smoke it very often at all. You'll only have the one, yeah. I'm not a huge Dunhill fan, and certainly not of the recent iterations. I mean, they claim that they're improving again now. I've seen some interesting shapes come through recently. I do like the Calabash. You see it every so often. The Calabash is a nice shape. Ian Walker does a fantastic Calabash shape. I think I sold my one of those, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. I think I sold it, but I'm not sure. Probably was a mistake to sell it, but there you go. Look forward to that, Daniel. What don't I like about meerschaums? I don't know. I just don't smoke them that much. The one that I've got, which is the club one, smokes very nicely. I just find that they're not made very well generally. I mean, there are some companies out there that make beautiful ones, but they cost a lot of money. But the ones which are attainable for the general population, if you say up to say $200, I just find that the whole shank tenon mortise arrangement is very haphazard. The stems, I find them to be very haphazard. The bite zone too thick. They don't put much care. It all goes into the bowl, and the rest of it, they don't seem to put much care and no love and attention to the rest of the pipe. I mean, there are some stunning ones. You've got Core. Is it Core Pipes? He posts on IG with stunning ones. Levon Eric, I've been talking to him on Messenger a week or two ago. Nice guy. I've reached out over the last year to many pipe makers, and he's one of them. But he's a busy man, despite his advanced age. Well, I don't know how advanced age he is, but he's old. I thought I watched his film, you know, The Father of the Flame. Have you guys seen the film? That's very cool. I mean, watching his film, um, you would really. Some people say it's a depressing film. I wouldn't say it's a depressing film. I would say it's a very real film. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely worth watching. No question about it. But it's not an upbeat film. That's for sure. And out of all of the people that are in it, Lee comes out as. I feel you kind of finish the film feeling a little bit sorry for him. I think he laments the fact that he doesn't have any children to pass it on to. And that was hard to watch. He talks very honestly in the film. We're talking about The Father of the Flame, the film. Is that the typical northern demeanour, is it? It's not a new film. Apparently they're making another film now. They're bringing out another one for Mimo, the guy who does The Briar. So they're doing a film about him now. And he's an interesting guy. His wife makes some beautiful pipes. She's got good access to Briar, that's for sure. Karen, I think her name is. I think you can see her pipes occasionally on Alpesia, the Italian website. It's not a new film. It's been out a while. Probably been out about a year. It's been kind of in the offing for a long time, the film. They've been talking about it for a long, long time, but it eventually came out. For me, I think overall, the subject that they filmed about was done very well. The people that they filmed about, they did very well. But I found that as a pipe-smoking film, I thought it missed a huge amount. I mean, there's a few clips of Lars Iversen and I'm trying to remember who else is in there. I can't recall, but they missed out. I think they missed out on. Well, if it was to be a series and they focus on different batches of pipe makers, then I think it would be great. But it seemed to be like the main thing, and I just felt that they missed out on a lot of pipe makers. It was all about the relationship between Lee, pretty much, between Lee and Mimo. That was a big part of the film, which was very nice and very touching, but it wasn't pipes. That was part of it. It was around pipes, but I didn't find that pipes was the focus. I found that the focus was the people, not the pipes. Would you agree with me on that, those of you who have seen it? What brands fall under the radar? LCS pipes? No, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It was good. I'm not saying it wasn't good, Sea Smokes. I just thought that it needed more about the pipes, you know. But if that wasn't their intention, then fine. You know, if their intention was to focus on the lives of those people, then that's fine. But it was kind of publicised and touted as the ultimate pipe kind of film. Sounds like the same kind of thing, Rob. Have I seen other pipes by Master Rondo? No. Hey Skull, how you doing? Enjoying some Johnny Walker, good for you. Although I always advise people of the fact that it's not always good to have alcohol together with your smoking. I can't remember where I heard it or read it or something, but the alcohol, because of the strength of the alcohol, it strips away the mucus lining in your mouth. And when you're smoking, so the smoke has direct contact with your tissue, whereas normally there is at least a little bit of a buffer with the mucus that's in your mouth. But when you drink alcohol, it strips that away. It just adds to the risk factor, that's all. Don't take it as gospel. I don't know if it's true or not. You tell yourself that, Mike. Which area of the world has the most valuable pipe smoking wise? I'm not sure what you're asking. Yeah, Blue Label is ridiculous. Northern Wisconsin. Minnesota. NJ Piper, how you doing? I like your picture in the handle there. Does Italy or Germany or England? If I had to guess, I would say Germany, excuse me. Per capita, I would say Germany. But it's just a guess. I don't really know for a fact. I don't know if there are statistics or not. China, yeah, well that's... Even if 0.5% of them are doing it, it would be more than anywhere else. But per capita, probably go with Germany. There are Viking pipes. Denmark, really? Okay, that's a surprise. Interesting. Oh, the Chinese are huge into pipes. They probably buy the most high-end pipes than anywhere else in the world. Mike could probably testify to that. I went to the pipe shop in Bournemouth in Dorset when I was there recently during the winter holidays, and there's a nice little, cute little shop. and they had Viking pipes. I'd never heard of them before, but they're actually really good looking pipes. Cheap. 40, 50 pounds for really nice pipes. What happened 3 years ago, Mike? What changed that? It depends if you're asking per capita, percentage-wise, Daniel, or just in actual numbers. Percentage-wise of people, how many people compared to the rest of their populace? Really? So even in their own country they can't view tobacco sites? Chinese websites? I didn't know that. That's new to me. I mean, so is the Chinese shows, they still go on? The pipe show? They still have the shows. Wow. Well, yeah, they've got a stranglehold on their people, haven't they? And what they're exposed to. North Korea, yeah, absolutely. I wonder if they've even got access to the internet there. Yeah, you wonder sometimes what he gets up to get his jollies, Kim. Same kind of flavours as before, Daniel. It's just really tangy and rich, but it's not very complex. You could do with a little bit more sweetness, to be honest, but it's not bad. Is Blue Label a single malt or is it a blend? Because most Johnny Walkers are blends, aren't they? Yes, I don't know why it goes for so much money. He reminds me so much of a Bond villain, does Kim. And the way he dresses, the haircut. You can just see him stroking a furry cat, can't you? So Andrew, if you're still on, that Nate pipe that you bought, was that off the shelf somewhere or was it an order from him? GoPro cameras, I don't use them, so I can't really comment on it. My son has one. He was riding a motorbike wearing his GoPro when he got knocked down. So they're good for what they do, that's for sure. He managed to get a good insurance claim as a result of it. I mean, not fortunes like you guys do in the States, but got a few £1,000s out of it. But watching it back is frightening. He sent me the video. Yeah. It's not easy seeing your son being knocked over on a motorbike. It looks like it probably weighs nothing, Andrew, that pipe. I'm guessing in the late 20s, early 30s, that pipe. I think some photographers or videographers do use them for certain parts of wedding shooting. You wouldn't use it as your main camera, but I do, awkward spots or just taking time-lapse video and that kind of thing. I think they do use them. I don't use them because I do still shooting. I do photography, not videography. Yes, there is a pipe show this year in the UK. It's the Nottingham Pipe Show, and it's in July. I think it's the 12th of July. And I'm still debating whether to take a table there or not. Annadelle generally is available here, yes. It's got a titanium band, cool. Can I ask the region, the price region, not the exact price if you don't want to, but... That just comes with experience, Daniel. I mean, you could get training, but it really comes with experience. What do you do for a living, Daniel? You don't have to tell me, just asking. Cash. Good evening, Portsmouth Piper. Is that Portsmouth UK or Portsmouth elsewhere? Yeah, please do, Andrew. Just curious. Drive a truck and own a small import business. Very nice. Hope that's going well. Portsmouth, Virginia. Well, putting in the settings into your camera, if you're using professional cameras, is just, it comes with experience and your style of shooting as well. Every photographer has their own way of doing things, really. You can spend as much time as you like, Carl, owning my pipes. No problem at all. You have eternity. Yeah, that's some good advice there from Mike, Savinelli Mike. I didn't really want to get into it because it's a never-ending discussion. If you want to ask me a particular question about photography, then I can answer you, but to try and capture, excuse the pun, but to try to capture the whole sort of essence of photography is not really something that you can capture in a few minutes kind of thing. Good night, Mike. Thanks for joining. I don't really do. Yeah, they all do shoot in auto mode. Absolutely. Yeah, I am a photographer. I don't know if I would use the word professional, but yes, I'm a photographer by trade, amongst other things. Well, to fully understand how a camera works in terms of exposure, then manual certainly is a good way to go. I'm not sure that the length of the lens nowadays has really any bearing on it at all, but in terms of understanding focus as well, then I suppose 35mm or 50mm, those are going to be good ways to go. But nowadays everything is so advanced, you know. Mike is absolutely right. You could shoot on auto with a little bit of perhaps deviation, but if you really wanted to, you could shoot on auto. It wouldn't look very creative, the images would look very flat, but you know, you could shoot in auto if you want. I don't film, as I say, Daniel, I don't film. I do pictures, I don't do video. Occasionally I've done video to help people out, but believe it or not, I use an iPhone. I stick an iPhone on a video mount on my tripod. My brother, one of his kids got married a few years back, and I shot the whole wedding on an iPhone, and it was great. If you're an amateur and you want to shoot something in RAW on automatic, absolutely, go ahead. But if you're trying to make a living out of it, you can't rely on that. Oh, to try and capture lightning. Well, if you want to try and capture lightning, you could do it on a slow exposure, and that's when you'll get the streaking shots across the sky. And if you do it on a long exposure, then you could just leave the shutter open for a while, just on a really high f-stop, so that it doesn't get too overexposed. And that's the way to go for if you want to get lightning. But you've got to be in the middle of a storm, otherwise, as you say, you'll be sitting around missing the shots. Well, nowadays, Daniel, a lot of them are using digital SLRs for movies as well. The Canons have come out with digital SLRs specifically for taking movies. Yes, you're right. What type of photos are they, Grobnob? Pipe photos or general scenery or what? Yeah, the 1 series are too expensive for me. Interesting thing is that you can get a which one is it? A 1D4 possibly. When I first started buying professional cameras, they were like £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 for the body, and nowadays you can pick them up for a few £100. The earlier 1 series, so you're getting a really professional body, but the chip is just so outdated. It seems such a shame. Good night, Skull. The original 5D, yeah. It's a little bit more than that, maybe. If you're getting a decent quality one, you might pay a little bit more, but yeah, it's that kind of money. I had the original 5D. I've still got a 5D Mark II as an emergency backup, which sits in my bag. But I'm using a 5D3, and I'm going to have to replace that soon because it's starting to fall apart. I'm literally holding it together with super glue, and it's not worth repairing, really. The 5D depends what you're doing with it. If you're doing outdoor shots, then yes, the 5D is going to do fantastic. It was a revolutionary camera when it came out, full frame chip, but nowadays, for my type of work, it's useless. It really is. In terms of the bed of the lathe, Andrew, I've got. Let's see if I can find it. I got this with it. It came with the lathe. It's a wax. I haven't used it in a while, but I've used it a fair bit. And basically, you just brush it down the bed, and just take a paper towel, take a wad of this under your paper towel, and just smear it on, and that's it. You're good to go. Don't get too worried about it. Don't get too, OCD about it. It's really not necessary. I haven't done this probably in 6 months, so it's fine. You get used to the lathe. It's foibles. You just get used to how to move the stuff around, and it can get a bit stiff sometimes, but you just get used to how to keep it level in your hand as you're moving the rest or the headstock or tailstock, not the headstock, the tailstock. Sometimes you might feel that it's really stiff and you get frustrated, but you get used to lifting in a certain way so that the mechanism underneath, which tightens when you crank it, that it sits level so that it moves smooth. If you kind of tilt it a bit, then it's catching. You just get used to that. What's the most frustrating thing? Just hang on, guys. I've just got a text from my daughter. Maybe there's something up. Hang on, I just need to text her back. And it's very late at night, so if she's texting me now, maybe there's something going on I need to know about, because her baby wasn't feeling too great. Just bear with me. Well, I'm going to give her a call. So, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to cut short, and I'm not going to go through all the names, but thank you everybody for calling. I appreciate it for joining. It's been very enjoyable, and I'm sure we will catch you on the next one. Good night, everybody. I've got to call it a day.